TNT, January the 7th. Thanks for dropping in as we bring you up to date on the main Thai stories. This particular story is focused on the latest in the cannabis situation. Bit of a slow burn, literally, and there has been quite a bit of change over the past 2 or 3 months. So I thought I'd bring you up to date. A good article in Nation Thailand about what's really happening on the ground. The headline of the story, 7,000 plus cannabis shops close as rule tightens, patience assured. And if you can hear sounds of construction in the background, that's because there's sounds of construction in the background. Let's get on to this Nation Thailand story. Thailand's health minister says that over 7,000 cannabis shops shut last year as revenues slump, with new licences limited to 4 legal facility types, and patients have been assured of access. Now, just unpacking that first sentence, a few obvious things from that. Firstly, that there are fewer cannabis shops in Thailand than there were, say, a year ago. And it looks like the crackdown is cracking down, and they're forcing shops, as they have to relicense or they close, to comply with the new regulations. Now, the health minister, you might want to go and point at him, say he's the problem. Well, he's the health minister for the Phumjai Thai Party, which are currently in government. The Phumjai Thai Party, with Anaton Charnvirakul at the time as the health minister back in 2021, were the ones that delisted cannabis from the list of illicit drugs in Thailand. So you've got a Phumjai Thai health minister who is administering this crackdown on cannabis shops. His name is Patana Prompat, and he said yesterday that the ministry had been briefed on progress on a draft ministerial regulation governing permits to study, research, export, sell or process controlled herbs for commercial purposes after it was approved by the cabinet. So if you're looking for a definition, cannabis has now been called a controlled herb. I think the emphasis here is on the word controlled. And the minister said the existing 2016 ministerial regulation did not reflect the current cannabis landscape. So the regulations on cannabis haven't been updated even after it was delisted from the list of illicit drugs back in 2021. And a dedicated control mechanism was needed for the export, sale and processing of cannabis for commercial use in order to protect consumers and reduce impacts on community. Under the new regulation, it would be made clear that sellers must be legally designated facilities with doctors responsible for prescribing and clearly identified personnel authorised to dispense cannabis to users. And then he said Thailand's got plenty of those. So the clear implication in all this, bottom line, is that these cannabis shops are just going to be more expensive to run because there's going to need to be qualified people inside dispensing the cannabis. And he said that shops that still hold valid licences will be able to continue using them, but once the new regulation takes effect, any licence renewal or new application will have to comply with the new criteria. And quoting the minister, cannabis-related businesses will have to adapt and operators will need to consider the process. Now, whether the people who enjoy the herb like to admit it or not, this was always the scenario that was initially envisaged by the then Public Health Minister, Anaton Charnvirakul, who's currently the Prime Minister for at least another 4 weeks until the election. We'll see what happens after that. So this crackdown, or this winding back of the basic free-for-all that existed after 2021, really is pulling it back in line with what was originally envisaged by the then Public Health Minister. The fact that it's taken 4 years, well, I suppose that's a totally different question. Let's finish this article. And then he said patients who use cannabis, medicinal cannabis, for treatment will certainly not face shortages. Now, there are people who get legitimate medicinal relief from using cannabis, particularly with pain relief, for example. And the government said all along that these people will not be disadvantaged by those new rules. What I'd like to hear is the people that do use it medicinally, maybe they've been doing it for a long time, how do these new rules, or how does this crackdown affect you? And the second paragraph there, according to the latest official figures on cannabis establishments, this is from the end of last year, there were 18,433 such businesses nationwide, To put that into perspective, there's only 14,500 7-Elevens, so make of that what you will. And then it says in 2025, licences for 8,636 cannabis shops expired, but only 1,339 renewal applications were filed. That's only about 15.5%. It says a further 7,297 shops did not seek renewal, leaving an estimated 11,136 establishments. And then have to take our shoes and socks off to keep note of all this. Some 4,587 licences will expire this year and another 5,000 odd next year. So the future of cannabis in Thailand is 1, medicinal, and 2, more controls. It's moving more in that control direction than the way it's been in the past 3 or 4 years. So we'd certainly like to hear your experience out on the street. I'm sure there'll be people who say, well, I don't have any problems getting it. I don't even have to fill out any paperwork. Well, clearly and statistically, there is a change, and if it hasn't happened in your part of town so far, it looks like it's going to happen eventually. So there will be people in the comments section who roll out the old cliched, oh, cannabis isn't as dangerous as alcohol. Well, that's irrelevant to this story and this discussion, and I'll leave that to people who are much more qualified to discuss that than I, or probably you. So what do you think about this crackdown, the way that it's unwinding, and the way that statistically we can see a lot fewer cannabis shops remaining open or opening, and under these new conditions? Quite a lot to talk about, and we look forward to hearing your comments. Please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget you can buy me a coffee, another drug, and we'll speak to you next time.